Okay, we got some light background music going on. People are talking about the silence being too much silence. Oh boy, it is a lore video. It's lore video o'clock, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. What do we got? The final End Times novel, Ward of the End Times, to finish off our End Times run, our series here. Just to remind you, Curse of Cain was the worst. Then the Rise of Nagash, or Return of Nagash, or whatever, was the best so far. Rise of the Horned Rat and Fall of Altdorf were both kind of in the middle. For no reason at all, I might remind you there are two types of bad story. There is a story that is incorrect, and there is a story that is just bad. An incorrect story is Bobby picks up a knife, he approaches his wife, and he kills her with the hammer in his hand. That is an incorrect story because he picked up a knife and then he had a hammer. That is a mistake. The other is just a bad story. Johnny picked up a knife, approached his wife. Elsewhere, a turtle took a nap. That is a dumb story. That is a pointless story that no one cares about. And I know there's going to be some silly comments about like, oh, like the turtle taking a nap is far more interesting. I love turtles and all that stuff. But like, as far as storycraft goes, that's a bad story. It had a beginning that was unrelated to the middle and the end. It was just confusing and stupid. Now, there's a different way to make a bad story that isn't like unrelated to the middle and the end. And it's Johnny picked up a knife, approached his wife, and said, never mind, do you want to go read a book? And then they read a book. Like, that one doesn't change subject matter. It's still a bad story. There's lots of ways to write bad stories. Doesn't mean they're incorrect. So a lot of this book, Lord of the End Times, it's a bad story. Spoilers, it's a terrible story. But the thing is, and I would like to point this out also because I pointed out for the Curse of Cain, it is a bad story not because of plot holes or things that are incorrect. It is a bad story because it is bad, because the narrative sucks, because it's boring and it does disservice to the characters they're using. Now, I don't think responses are appropriate that are, if I say something is stupid, someone goes, no, the author explained that they had to use that spell to teleport back in time. I'm not saying they didn't explain what happened. I'm saying what happened was fucking stupid. So, all right, we need to get that out of the way. That's the metric we're operating on here. It's not whether or not things are correct. It's whether or not things should have happened at all. Oh, God. All right. So this book is a roller coaster. It starts off in Middenheim. Middenheim is under siege by a giant chaos army led by Archaon. This whole book is a full cast of characters popping in and out. But I noted for myself here that Brunner the Bounty Hunter was here. Brunner the Bounty Hunter had his own novel series, his own omnibus, and he was like a complete side character. He was just like this bounty hunter from the Empire that wandered around Talea and like hunted some vampires, hunted some greenskins. So it was crazy to see him here. That was a fun little Easter egg. I actually enjoyed that quite a lot. And this is jumping ahead, but he almost kills Archaon. He legitimately bodies Archaon quickly, but his pistol misfires instead of killing Archaon, and then Archaon stabs him and kills him. So, like, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole fight of Middenheim. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. I didn't have many problems with the fight at Middenheim. It's just a lot of military action that doesn't really bother me going through. It's like, oh, first the Chaos Army sieged the walls, and then they got over the walls, and then they broke the gate, but they didn't break the gate super fast, and then Volton came, and then he killed some guys, and then they couldn't hold, and they backed up. Like, it's not what nobody's here for that. So Middenheim is getting sieged. The Chaos Hordes are like impossibly numerous, so they get over the walls pretty quickly. Malagor Dark Omen is flying around, occasionally launching assassination attempts towards Volton. If you don't know who Volton is, he's half of Sigmar, which is weird, but he's like this farm boy that was given Gollum Araz because he was Sigmar incarnate, but then the writers decided they want Karl Franz to be Sigmar incarnates. Now there's two Sigmar incarnates. Whatever. So Malagor is trying to kill Volton a lot, and it's not really working out for him. Sigvald, Wulfric, and some guy I don't know were fighting in a lobby, and Sigvald talks to Vultan and is like, "I'll see you later, punk ass," and walks away, and that was a little confusing, but okay. Wulfric challenges Vultan, and they have a pretty fun little duel, but Vultan kills him. Kairos Fateweaver's fucking around for a bit. And from the fall of Altdorf, there was a beasts wizard of the Amber College. He was the leader of the Amber College. His name was Gregor Martok. And in that book, he was pretty pathetic as a caster. He never really got his shit together. And at the end of a book, he got the Imperial Dragon to help him out. Now, in this book, he's just walking around and there's no mention of the dragon. So that was weird. And then also in this book, they mentioned that Altdorf was saved by Karl Franz sacrificing himself. The giant white explosion that cleared all the Nurgle corruption and killed all of the Nurgle armies in the area and killed all the Nurgle characters in the area. And then they rebuilt Altdorf and it fell again off screen, apparently. So there was no point to that. And also, like, again, I complain about this every lore video, but the real quick thing is the Chaos Hordes are innumerable for no reason and it sucks. Like, I'm not going to do the whole rant again, but it's like, where does the food come from? Where does the population come from? There's not a lot of women depicted in these things, so where are the babies coming from? Is it just people wandering into the Chaos Wastes? Are you seriously telling me that more people wandered into the Chaos Wastes than exist on the normal planet? Because that's how the numbers are working out here, but whatever, it's stupid. Why bother saving Altdorf with the magical white flash of Karl Franz if you're just going to kill it again off screen? And you might be like, hey man, maybe there's not maybe, but like there's this obscure comic you've never heard of, or there's this White Dwarf story you've never heard of, or there's this campaign in like a D&D type thing for Warhammer that you've never heard of. Yeah, I haven't heard of this shit, and I am a YouTuber who does these lore videos in my spare time, and I do research to try and figure out where to find these fucking books and what books to get and how to get them and what omnibuses to get and what order to read them in, and I can't find these things. It's maddening how difficult Warhammer fantasy lore is to follow because they just like they managed it so poorly and they put so many pieces of key information in other media. So as far as I'm concerned, this shit happened off screen because I can't find where it happened. So the Altdorf fell a second time, and for real this time, and I'm pissed off that it's such a pain to try and find all these details. And it's only the end times that you can't find all these fucking details. So, Gregor Martok is helping to hold Middenheim, and things are going okay for a bit, and honestly, the Empire is actually doing very well, and they're starting to think that they might be able to push back the Hordes of Chaos with Vultan, because Vultan kicks tons of ass. And Ulrich, the god Ulrich, the wolf god, possesses Gregor Martok's body and like kind of curses him, but puts a fragment of his god shard in Martok, so now Martok's like whooping tons of ass. And it's like, hey guys, we can do this. And then the flame of Ulrich goes out, so Ulrich gets a lot weaker. And the Flame of Ulrich is this magical burning fire that doesn't require fuel, and it burns in Middenheim, and like legend goes, as long as the fire burns, Middenheim will stand. So people start panicking and retreating because the fire burnt out, and Ulrich gets a lot weaker because the fire burnt out. So just remember that, put that in your hat, that the fire mysteriously goes out and the city falls because of it. They stood a fighting chance without it. Yeah. So Gregor gets possessed by Ulrich and he starts casting a bunch of ice magic and beast magic. It's kind of like Kislev magic for some reason. There's a bit of crossover there. So he's killing tons of people. He ends up fighting Malagor and stabbing him through the chest with Amber Spear, but enhanced with ice, which is kind of funny. And then Vultan gets in a final fight with Archaon. They duel for a while, and it's pretty close, and Archaon might have the upper hand when all of a sudden a Vermin Lord of the Skaven pops out of nowhere and stabs Vultan from behind. And Archaon's like, you bitch! And Vultan's like, you bitch! Because they were having like an epic duel, and the Skaven's like, no, ka! So Archaon ends up killing that Vermin Lord, but Vultan's dead. Without Vultan, the Empire stands no chance. They all fall apart. And Gregor Martok finds this guy. Did I write his name down later? This book is like literally all names. So give me a second. I'm going to scroll and find it. What's his name? Damn it. His name's on one of my notes somewhere. One second. Everybody shut up. Volker? That sounds familiar. Volker, yes. There's this knight that they briefly introduced called Volker. He's a Reiksguard knight. And Martok finds him and says, hey, dude, I'm dying. Take this shard of Ulrich. It'll guide you to where you need to go. Go find Karl Franz and tell him Middenheim has fallen. Join up with him in Averheim and hold there. So that guy scampers off. He's the only survivor of Middenheim. Okay, cool. So Averheim is the last bastion of the Empire. And we flash forward in time to a defeated convoy of Bretonnians, dwarves, and humans falling back towards Athelloren. And I go, not falling back towards Averheim? And then Karl Franz is here. And they say, oh yeah, Averheim fell a couple weeks later. Yeah, Volker got there and warned them. Archaon and Karl Franz had this duel, and Archaon knocked the winds of heaven out of Franz, and Ungrim Ironfist died with the winds of fire still in him. And I was like, why isn't this on screen? Like, and you might, again, the people who know the meta behind it might be like, well, they were in a rush to end it. Yep, I don't give them points. If someone turns in homework that's unfinished, I don't go, well, the deadline was coming up, so I guess it's an A. No, you didn't tell your fucking story, so you don't get an A. Why is the Siege of Averheim off screen? It's the last. When did Franz get the winds of heaven? The last I saw of Karl Franz in this omnibus. This is all one omnibus. The end times, doom of the old world. This is one omnibus. The last time I saw Karl Franz, he died on an altar, got possessed by Sigmar, and blew up in a giant white light that killed everything Nurgle and left everything good. That is the last I saw of him, and now I'm being told that off screen he lost the lore of heavens. When did he get it? Why did he have it? How did he lose it? And that's never described in this book how he lost it. Archaon just said, I ripped it from you. How do you just do that? And how did it only happen to Franz? Why didn't he just do that to all the incarnates? And you might be like, well, it's probably pretty hard. He can't do it to all of them. If it's never explained to me how he did it or how hard it is, how can I set limits on how powerful it is? How? Like, that's idiotic writing to just say like, oh, it happened, but like I'm not going to explain any of it and then you figure it out after that. That's not how this works. That's terrible writing. Anyway, so the most important siege of the Empire happened off screen. The most important man in the Empire lost his incarnate elemental being off screen, and a main character, Ungrim Ironfist, and one of the incarnates died off screen. That's all great. It's all fine. Apparently Grugni blessed Balthazar Gelt, and I have some serious meta knowledge from like listening to Lore Master of Sotek and other lore channels throughout my YouTube viewing career, but like, what the fuck is going on with Gelt, and where are these stories? I'm having the hardest time figuring out where we learn what happened with Gelt, because apparently Gelt made the Wall of Faith, which I read all these omnibuses, and the Wall of Faith was there before the omnibuses, so I can't find where the Wall of Faith went up, how it was constructed, and who it was constructed by. I know Gelt turned to necromancy, but I don't know why he did. I just heard about it, and then like he fell from grace, so then the Sigmarite cults disavowed him, stopped supporting the Wall of Faith, and then it fell. And then like Vlad in this book talks about missing Gelt, and he's like, man, you were a good kid. When did these two meet? What was going on? Why did Gelt leave? And now Gelt's walking with the dwarves, and this Grugni blessed him, apparently. So all the runes of the dwarves shine brighter and work better when Gelt is nearby. What the fuck? Like, where is this information? You can't just keep giving Gelt superpowers off screen. This is really pissing me off. So whatever. Apparently a dwarven god blessed Gelt. The elves saved this convoy of like the last humans, dwarves, and Bretonnians, Imperials and Bretonnians, right? And in the Curse of Cain, or whatever, the Elven omnibus one, not the omnibus, the Elven end time story, the Phoenix Guard started talking, which they're not supposed to do. And there's a little bit of a retcon here where Caradrian, the leader of the Phoenix Guard, goes, Asuryan is dead, so we can speak now. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't work that way, because also in that other book, you fucked with the lore of the Phoenix Guard so badly. So the Phoenix Guard are supposed to be able, they can see the future, they can see how they die, and then their ability to speak is removed so they can't affect the future. That is what the Phoenix Guard are. So that now this guy is saying, like, in that book, he just started talking, and he said, it turns out our future is not as set in stone as we thought. And, like, he was supposed to die somewhere and didn't, which just doesn't happen. And now in this book, he's like, Asuryan died, so we can talk now. So, what? Was Asuryan piloting you towards your death? And when he died, all the Phoenix Guards are just like, whatever, we can do whatever we want now. That's stupid. That's dumb. Whatever. It's just a dumb retcon. Caradrian, this Phoenix Guard captain, got the lore of fire after Ungrim died, the Avatar of Flame. And then I wrote to myself, what the fuck? Teclis knew how the Curse of Cain would go. Yeah, okay. So Teclis was told by Lilith, one of the elven gods, who can see the future, how the Curse of Cain would go. He was told by her that Tyrion would have to die, and Malekith would be a shitty ruler, but then when Tyrion dies, he'd be purged of the Curse of Cain. So then, if he got resurrected, he would be pure Tyrion, Tyrion Light Boy, Tyrion Best Boy, but he would have to steal the Flame of Ulrich to save him. The Flame from Middenheim. But this doomed Middenheim, and Teclis admits that the humans had a chance of pushing back chaos, but he doomed them to save his brother. And Tyrion is now the avatar of the Lord of Light. So many what the fucks in that. So first, what the fuck? Teclis knew how the Curse of Cain was gonna go, and he did it all anyway because Lilith told him. But like, to flash forward, because with future predictions, it's very hard to tell you why it's wrong without knowing why it's wrong. But Lilith can see the future, so she told Teclis to go do all this Curse of Cain bullshit because it's the only way to stop the end times. But then she knows the end times doesn't stop. She knows, and at the end of this book, she's saying, I knew we couldn't win, so I took a gamble on the Age of Sigmar or whatever. She knew, but multiple times during this book that we're gonna get to, she directly fucked him. Like, she's the reason they didn't win. It's like, oh, I have the amazing fortune-telling powers that I'm gonna lose my job. Yeah, no shit, because the next day you came and masturbated on your boss's desk. Yeah, you're gonna lose your job because you did something really stupid. Stop doing stupid shit all the time. Oh my god. So it was just, it was so maddening. So she took the elves, cut them in half, had them fight each other, Tyrion versus Malekith's forces, weakened them, had Tyrion fucking die, had him reincarnate, but to reincarnate just Tyrion. They had to kill so many fucking elves. They had to sink Ulthuan, and they had to doom the humans who might have won Middenheim. If you can see the future, just send Teclis and Tyrion and Malekith to Middenheim. Fuck it. Don't even send Tyrion. If you had to kill all those elves, if you had to get Malekith to be an incarnate, I get that. Don't resurrect Tyrion. Send all of the elves to Middenheim. If that battle could have been won if you didn't steal the flame. Why? And also, if these fucking incarnates can just transfer, like Caradrian could just take the lore of fire from Ungrim, why aren't we just sending in 8 incarnates? I know it's meta, but you have to explain these things. If it's so easy to transfer these fucking lores, why aren't you just sending in 8 incarnates to fight? And when they die, it just goes to the next person, and you send that person in to fight. Because these guys are like gods. They can just kill infinite amounts of chaos. That's how you win. You don't just fuck over 2 different races to save just Tyrion. That was insane. That was completely insane to do. Lilith set this all in motion. Like, she sent Teclis out to go get Malekith. Getting Malekith drove Tyrion insane. Tyrion grabbed the Sword of Cain and like fought Malekith. All this stuff happened because this lady set this in motion, but she didn't have to. And it's like, it's just asinine. So part 2 of what's really fucking stupid about this series of information is, sorry, I lost my train of thought by being mad. Teclis knew how the Curse of Cain would go, and he did it anyway. So Teclis is willing to throw away the entire world for Tyrion. Okay, that's some serious character assassination. Like, he was willing to give the elves over to Malekith, who he hates. He was willing to kill all those elves. He was willing to kill humanity. He was willing to doom the world just to save Tyrion. Okay, Teclis is a giant piece of shit, so great. That character also sucks now. And finally, Tyrion's the Lord of Light. That's really random. Tyrion has no magical affinity. And I know you don't need magical affinity because Ungrim was the Lord of Fire, but like, how is Tyrion the Lord of Light? He's holding Sunfang. Why isn't he the Lord of Fire? Why didn't he get that after Ungrim? Lord of Light. That has nothing to do with Tyrion. And unless you're like, he's light because he's the purest and most special boy. You had to purify him by killing him and then stealing the flame of a god. Yeah, I guess at that point he's the Lord of Life, but that Lord of Light. But I guess that's it's working real hard. It's working overtime. And also, fuck the elves. Elves get shadow, life, light, and fire. The elves get 4 of these incarnate winds of magic. All right, fuck you. God damn it. Pieces of shit. I hate it. Tyrion's light. Whatever. Fucking Tyrion. Oh, also Be'lakor assaulted the Oak of Ages off screen, which was weird. Nagash lost. So Nagash was like one of the things that everyone was betting on to fight Chaos, and Chaos was scared of Nagash. Yeah, Nagash also gets character assassinated here because he raised the Nameless, and the Dark Gods raised Isabella von Karstein, but Nagash couldn't control the Nameless, and then Skaven attacked him, so it was just kind of like this rambling mix of reasons that Nagash lost, and he was in Nagashazar, and then he was in Sylvania, but Sylvania's being held by Neferata now, and Chaos took it, but Neferata's still holding, but Chaos took it, but Neferata's still holding. Like, the book goes back and forth on whether or not Sylvania is still there. And it's really weird. And Isabella, because, like, yeah, that's it. They said Isabella killed Vlad and Sylvania fell, but now Neferata's holding Sylvania, so did they take it back, and how? And Nagash was in Nagashazar just fucking off. And it said that, like, he was way too passive and Chaos just kind of beat up the whole world while he sat around doing nothing. And it's like, okay, so, but why? That goes back to the very first thing I said in this video. It's not incorrect. Like, Nagash could have sat around and did nothing. He could be overly arrogant. Those are all things that could happen. But how is that good storytelling? That you set up the first book of the End Times was to get back Big Daddy Nagash, and Nagash could stop the world from falling. And then it's good storytelling to just say, but he didn't. He just stayed home. He just sat around Nagashazar doing nothing, reading books. How, like, what was the point? What is the benefit of that? You know what I mean? That's where I'm going. It's like, is it technically incorrect? No, it's just stupid. Do you want me to believe Nagash is stupid? Because that's what we accomplished here. I just think he's a lazy idiot. Oh, God. So Nagash's Black Pyramid fell, Nagashazar fell, Sylvania fell, all off screen. And Manfred says Neferata's the steward of Sylvania, but it was also lost in Nurgle. Yeah, so even in my notes, I'm like, what the fuck? Is it alive or not? I know later that it's still apparently around and Neferata's ruling it, but they go back and forth a lot. And my note just says, Gelt helped Vlad, question mark, then betrayed him, question mark. Vlad's alive, triple question mark? Because Vlad, so if you remember in the fall of Altdorf, Vlad could have saved Altdorf on his own, but then he licked Nurgle corruption for no reason and retreated weakened. Then he died to Isabella. Like, it is stated he died to Isabella off screen. Now he's just here. And at this point, I'm getting annoyed. I know his bit is he has the ring and he always comes back to life. But again, from a narrative point, why are you killing him just to bring him back a couple pages later? You're like, Vlad died to Isabella. Also, he's right here. Hooray! Who cares? And the only thing it could have been facilitating is Manfred doesn't know Vlad's still alive. But then 2 more pages later, Vlad walks up to Manfred and is like, you are stupid and dumb. And I'm like, okay, so now Manfred knows. Everybody knows. There's no point of a bait and switch if there's no switch. Like, it's just, I don't, you fucking... Your toddler is looking for food and you walk up to him with your hand behind your back and you're like, we're all out of food, you're gonna starve. And then when they start crying, you pull it out and you're like, just kidding, here it is. Yeah, you're just a dick. Like, that didn't serve anything. There's no point to that surprise. It wasn't like there's a point to a surprise if your kid says, am I gonna have a birthday party? And you say, I don't know, because there's a surprise party waiting for them at home. The point of lying to them was for the surprise to work. There was no surprise here. Vlad just walks up to Manfred a couple minutes later and is like, hey Manfred, that's it. Ooh, why do you keep killing him just to bring him back for nothing? Yeah. Archaon, we go back to Archaon, who's just sitting in Middenheim, like moping for a bit. He actually has a reason to be there, but for now he's just moping. Archaon killed Thanquol off screen, which also infuriates me. I know I've just been furious, but this book is terrible. So, if you remember The Rise of the Horned Rat, Thanquol was set up to be the Shadow Council of 13, the Vermin Lords Council of 13, not mortal Skaven. Demons of Skaven kind picked Thanquol to be the next member of the Council of 13, and he's the key to all their plans. Then they did fuck all with Thanquol all book, and at the very last second, they reintroduced him to the story and gave him the win when he didn't do anything. What was that all building up to? Thanquol dies off screen to Archaon because Archaon was furious about someone stealing his Vulcan kill. What was the point of making Thanquol the Lord of the 13, the Council of 13? What was the point? Why did Eshin and all these guys go out of their way to get him the head of Thorgrim Grudgebearer? Why did Queek have to die so that Thanquol could succeed? What was the point? Is any of it incorrect? No. Skaven plans go wrong all the time. Archaon is much more powerful than Thanquol. Do I think Archaon should be able to kill Thanquol? Yes, but narratively, as a story, what are we doing? Iron Man 1. I'm Iron Man. I'm gonna join the Avengers. Look at me do Iron Man thing. Captain America. I'm Captain America. I'm gonna join the Avengers. Watch me do Captain America things. All right, the first Avengers movie, Captain America killed Tony Stark off screen before the movie started. Why? You need to tell me why. I don't care about these characters anymore because you don't have a plan. You don't know what you're doing. You're doing setup for no payoff. Vlad has to die so he can, checks notes, show up and talk to Manfred anyway. Thanquol has to be the Council of 13 manager to check notes, die off screen. Volker has to escape the Battle of Middenheim to ward Karl Franz and save Averheim, so checks notes, Averheim can fall off screen. What are we doing? Manfred is imprisoned by Nagash for the elves. Ah, yes. So the elves and the humans and the Bretonnians are holding out in Athel Loren. They are the final bastion of safety. Beastmen hordes, numerous. They blot out the sun, have been attacking for months and getting slaughtered in their millions for months. And somehow there's this many beastmen even on the planet. And again, numbers don't work. Numbers don't matter. I get it. Nagash shows up, and he and his undead forces break the Beastman assault, and they have some brief negotiations with the elves. To make things go smoother, Nagash reveals that Manfred von Karstein, stole Tyrion and Alarielle's daughter and murdered the shit out of her. Tyrion and Alarielle get pissed. They imprison Manfred. If you have any meta knowledge, you will know why this was a shocking thing for me to learn. Flashing forward to spoilers, Manfred is the reason the world ends. It comes up later. Now, when I know Manfred is the reason the world ends, I'm curious why he's still alive. And there's 2 things that confuse me, is the community discussion around Manfred and the in-book canon narrative reason for Manfred still being alive. The community discussion around Manfred is a piece of shit and he betrayed everyone and ended the world. That is true. But how they treat him, how the people in the book treat him, I actually don't blame Manfred at all for betraying them. I don't blame Manfred at all for killing them at the moment, killing Gelt at the moment of the very important thing. Again, I know this is spoilers. This book is not worth your fucking time. This book is not worth your time. Spoilers aren't even worth it because it's all dog shit. But like, so I know Manfred fucks over the world, but after learning what has happened to him here, I get it. Because Nagash just threw him away for no reason. Because Manfred brought Nagash back by doing that, and then Nagash was like, hey, he killed your daughter. So the elves have this vampire, this very powerful, very sneaky vampire that is constantly scheming, always pulling off plots, always a pain in everyone's side. They have him in front of them, and Nagash says you can kill him for free. They imprison him in a bunch of tree roots underground and leave him guarded by a couple normal elven spearmen. Why are we doing that? And I know I've been angry a lot. It's not a bit. I'm actually just this mad. What is the purpose? He is a very powerful vampire that you just made an enemy out of. Kill him! Kill him immediately! There is no reason to keep him alive! He has no information to share with you! He doesn't serve Chaos. He knows nothing about the plans of Chaos, so it's not like you can keep him alive. We'll torture him, find out what Archaon's doing. He knows of Nagash's plans. Nagash is your ally, and Manfred sure as fuck not gonna tell you about Nagash's plans, because Nagash wouldn't have handed him over if he knew anything that mattered! Just kill him! The only thing that could possibly happen from you keeping him alive is him escaping, or him staying locked up till the end of the world. That's all that could happen. Why not kill him now? Ugh! They don't even like torture him. They just leave him down there. And it's stupid. And he ends up fucking over the entire world. And again, Lilith can see the future. Lilith is here. I didn't mention that yet. She's here. Lilith, the god who can see the future, is at the fucking council. She sees the future and knows that he stabs Gelt. She knows. And she could stop all this by just saying, kill him. Tyrion could stop this by just saying, kill him. Malekith could stop this by just saying, kill him. And instead they say, put him in some roots and guard him with two normal spearmen. This is stupid. It's so fucking dumb. Does Vlad go talk to him later? Hold on. Don't know. Okay, yeah, that's a little later. So we flash. So Nagash, the Wind of Death, has joined with the Incarnates. The only one they're missing now is Beasts and Heavens. Heavens because Carl lost it, and Beasts because it's said it's far off east. We go back to Archaon. He killed Kairos Fateweaver off screen because he didn't like him. Okay. Whatever. That's really all that Archaon did. He's just kind of schmoozing with a bunch of randoms, and he killed Kairos off screen. So there goes another legendary lord, just dead because reasons. Back with the Incarnates, they're still fighting Infinite Beastmen. Grom Brindle, the white dwarf, shows up. And Vlad von Karstein keeps schmoozing around with Bretonnia and the dwarves. He's making this play to, like, betray Nagash after the world is saved. See, that I like about Vlad. I really wish the Fall of Orgdorf hadn't made him into a slobbering idiot, but he's trying to make a plan to deal with Nagash after they save the world, while some more stupid people are like, let's kill Nagash now, even though the world's ending. It's like, no, he's like, all right, save the world, then kill Nagash, and I want to be an Elector Count, and maybe even the Emperor. So he's trying to make alliances with Bretonnia and the dwarves. Lilith organized the whole end times. Yeah, I already talked about that extensively. Nagash saves Beastman battle with one spell. Oh yeah, this was just badass. It's not really like a huge plot point, but during a giant Beastman battle, even the other Incarnates are incapable of turning the tide against how many Beastmen are flooding in, which, whatever, stupid, but sure. And Nagash rolls in, and the Incarnates are all like gods, but Nagash is like a super god, because he just uses one spell and sends out a wave that kills everything around him in an aura, like, probably for about half a mile, and the Beastmen see that and go, never mind, and run away, and I'm like, wow, Nagash is pretty badass. I don't know why he was sitting around reading books doing nothing while the world fell apart, but now that he's doing stuff, he's pretty cool. Too bad they already undercut this character, and I have no reason to think that he is good or smart. Vlad goes and talks to Manfred in the basement, and he's like, yes, Manfred, you're a scheming little bitch, and that's why you'll never be any good to anybody. And then he leaves, and he leaves Manfred alive, because he leaves Manfred alive, because we're leaving Manfred alive, because you shouldn't kill him, I guess. Be'lakor shows up and frees Manfred. So, we're doing that now. So you put Manfred in this underground dungeon room guarded by two normal-ass spearmen. And Be'lakor can just walk in there. Now again, the more informed viewer might be like, well, Be'lakor is the master of shadows and he can do a lot of teleportation and all this stuff. Yeah, then you gotta guard him with something that can resist demons, because demons tend to like teleporting places. And hey, maybe guard him with somebody who has some magic senses, since he's a vampire and demons are around. Hey, guard him with someone with better than just two fucking normal-ass spearmen. So Be'lakor shows up, and he's like, Manfred, hello. You're in trouble, tee-hee-hee. And Manfred goes, hey, Be'lakor, I'll make you a deal. If you let me out of here, I'll tell you which of the characters in that glade above is a literal god where you could steal their powers and challenge the dark gods themselves. And Be'lakor's like, ooh, yes. So he tears apart Manfred's tree cage because it's just a bunch of fucking tree roots, so of course he could do that. Oh. So he lets Manfred out. Manfred says it's Lilith, and she looks like this. And Be'lakor's like, wee, and runs away. So Manfred's out. The Wood Elf version of an alarm starts blaring, and two normal-ass spearmen walk into the room. Manfred eats them, gets his strength back because they were two normal-ass spearmen, and he's one of the most powerful vampires who's ever lived, and he flies away. He escapes into Athel Loren, and even in the book, some people are like, well, Athel Loren will take care of him because Athel Loren's so powerful, and then Vlad goes, nah, Manfred's more powerful, and this whole plan was stupid. So Manfred escapes, Be'lakor escapes, and all that stuff. There's this Bretonnian named Gerard. He's a Grail Knight. He's the last kind of leader that the Bretonnians have. He talks to Lilith and finds out she is the Lady of the Lake and that she's been using them. She's been using Bretonnians as like a shield. And he finds out the lady is a lie. Be'lakor shows up to steal Lilith, and Gerard has actually a pretty heroic effort to keep her alive until the other incarnates show up, and then they tear Be'lakor apart piece by piece. They get some information out of him, but then they kill him, which is the smart thing to do when you have a prisoner, guys, but Manfred already escapes. Too late with that. Yeah, but anyway, so Lilith, the elven goddess of prophecy, was the Lady of the Lake and had been blessing Bretonnians forever. And when she reveals this to him, because he asks over and over again, because she's like really familiar and he's starting to figure things out, she's just kind of a dick about it, where she's like, yeah, you mud-grubbing apes are no good, but without elven guidance, you'd be nothing. But I forged you into the sword I would wield against chaos, and I'd do it again. I'd do it 1,000 times because you're all stupid. And I'm like, okay, Lilith wanted to bang Luwin a couple books ago. I don't know if you remember that, but the Lady of the Lake showed up to Luwin on his way to Altdorf, and she said, the world is ending. Are you sure you don't want to go fuck? Yeah, I remember that, where she was trying to bang Luwin, and now she's like, nah, you're all just dumb apes. What? All right, that's gross then. I don't know why you want to bang something like that, but whatever. That's just kind of dumb. Be'lakor, before he gets murdered, reveals that Middenheim holds a third Chaos Rift, and that's why Archaon's sitting there. He's trying to excavate it, and the Chaos Rifts at the North and South Poles hold the world together, where it's like they cancel each other out, but if you introduce a third one, it goes out of balance and the world will blow up. Teclis knew about this, and fucked him, because like, if Middenheim had held against Archaon, then he wouldn't have had access to the third rift. So he couldn't have blown up the world. But, whatever. I don't know. And, like, all the Incarnates get mad at Teclis and Lilith for fucking them over and destroying the world. And they should. So, Lilith was betting all of this on a haven, a magical haven. And that's the Age of Sigmar. Spoilers. But she says it's all doomed now. She can't sense the haven anymore, and it was all for nothing. So, thanks, Lilith, you bet everything and lost because you're an idiot. Vlad talks to Gerard of Bretonnia before they fuck off because the last of the Bretonian remnant don't want to work with Leith anymore because she lied to them. So they meet up with the Red Duke and Vlad goes, hey, this is the Red Duke. He owes me a favor, so he's gonna take you to where Abarash and the Green Knight are holding out in a final fortress to stop chaos. And Abarash is like the original Blood Dragon vampire lord, I believe. He's this crazy, amazing fighter. And Vlad's been talking about him in this book where he's like, actually, if Abarash was with us, we might be able to just beat Archaon because Abarash is so amazing at fighting, but he's a loose cannon, so what can you do? And I'm like, cool, whatever. So the Bretonians leave. Beastman constant assault continues, and there's no hope for the Incarnates until Khorne invasion breaks it up. So Khorne just pops up out of the ground like a Skaven spell, like the Dread 13th, but Khorne. And it's unfathomable large amounts of bloodthirsters and minotaurs and bloodletters and demons just pouring into Athel Loren, and they're burning down the forest. Karl Franz is busy doing really good politics and getting the Incarnates to work together, even though he doesn't have the Winds of Heaven anymore. And Vlad is mad that his plans aren't working. Because he tried to smooth the Bretonians and then they left. He had this elf lady he wanted to turn into a vampire, but then Tyrion killed her instead because she was corrupted by vampirism, and she was like, please kill me, and he goes, sure. So Vlad's just pissed, and their politics meeting is broken up as Khorne goes flying through. And I noticed when Vlad killed a couple bloodletters, he didn't drink their blood off his sword because he's not a fucking idiot anymore, but still mad that he was against Nurgle. Athel Loren is called up to fight, so like all of the trees wake up and become tree men or dryads. That's cool. Well, pretty much all of them. And Teclis has to kill Lilith. She tells him to kill her, to steal her power, to teleport them to Middenheim, because that's their last hope. Is Khorne alone is going to overrun the last of their forces, so they have to go to Middenheim to fight Archaon, who has a combined force, and they'll win there. Sure. So Teclis kills Lilith, and then Karl Franz tells him that he can do it or whatever, and Teclis cries and calls him the King of the Apes. And I'm like, all right, so Lilith and Teclis are both just like elven racists now, making Malekith look like the good guy, which Malekith has still been an asshole this whole book, by the way. Ugh. So Teclis teleports all of their armies to Middenheim, just teleports them from Athel Loren all the way to Middenheim. Takes them out of the battle with Khorne and the Beastmen and just swoops into Middenheim because they needed them to be at Middenheim for the final battle, and they had no plan on how to get them across the entire world besides teleporting. Great. Teclis lands away from the armies because the armies end up all scattered all over the place. And Manfred's there with Archaon, where he's apparently been telling Archaon what the Incarnates are up to. So, good job leaving him alive, you fuckers. Alright. Arkan the Black also helped Teclis bring the armies there. Apparently Teclis wasn't strong enough, but Arkan sensed the spell that was going on, so he just went, oh yeah, help. Nagash is bodying some fools. Durthu joins Alarielle. He wasn't mentioned as being in the forest fight, but Alarielle is having a bad time because the lore of life is crazy weak since the world is dying, so Durthu's doing most of the work keeping her alive. Ulrich powered up Volker is here. Ulrich is the god of men and wolves, and Volker is that knight he randomly chose to possess. He keeps trying to kill Teclis because Teclis stole the flame of Ulrich, and Ulrich's mad about that. But there's a really big battle. Ulrich Volker is helping kill a bunch of stuff. Grimgor Ironhide shows up, and then this book gets awesome. He off screen killed Grisus Goldtooth and rallied the ogres. He killed the Chaos Dwarves and grabbed all their slaves, and he just butchered Grand Cathay and Nippon. Oh, okay. Like, damn, Grimgor is kind of ruining the world too. I guess everyone's just ruining the world. That's at least on brand for Grimgor, but it sucks that he killed all of Grand Cathay. Grimgor has Gork and Mork in his body, plus the Lore of Beasts, so he's like a triple incarnate. And Golgfag Maneater is his lieutenant. Wurzag's here too, just kind of being around, helping out, so that's fun. Chaos also, this part's stupid. Chaos also teleported bad guys to help. So when Teclis had to kill Lilith to get the power to teleport all the good guys to this fight, Archaon just lifted a finger and also teleported all the bad guys. So he teleported Arbol, the undefeated, D'Challa, who's like this snake Slanesh demon from Ind. Sigvald's here, Throg, Azazel, Manfred von Karstein, Isabella von Karstein, Crone Hellebron is here and a bad guy, Harold Hammerstorm, and a lot of Vermin Lords. So it's a bad guy cast. Archaon seems to want to fail, though. He keeps telling one of his advisors to, like, kill him. He's like, you could do it, you know, you could kill me. Fucking do it, son. And then when Kanto, the guy, actually tries to kill him, Archaon beats him, but seems sad that he beat him. He's like, oh, I kind of wanted to lose. And he's also being a bad general intentionally. And Cetra the Imperishable joined Archaon, which was odd. But we'll get to that. That one I'll admit, when I wrote this note, there was a bait and switch, so that one's a little worth it. Grimgor gets baited to fight the elves, as some of the bad guys lead him intentionally towards the elves and then bail. But Malekith dives in to kill some Skaven weapons teams and save his forces. Grombrindle shows up, saves him, and then nods and goes back to what he was doing. So I guess Grombrindle got over hating Malekith. That's fine. Grimgor beats Malekith's ass. Like, absolutely destroys him and Seraphon, his dragon. So Malekith submits to him and says, you win, I'll join your side. And Grimgor's like, that's good, that's right. And Malekith's like, Archaon thinks he's bigger and badder than you. And Grimgor's like, fuck that piece of shit. So Malekith tricks Grimgor into joining their team by just pretending to be on his team. Sigvald and Throg go to duel Arkan the Black and Krell, which, when the fuck did Krell come back? The last we heard of Krell, he was stuck fighting infinite beastmen in Bretonnia to cover Arkan's escape. So I don't know how he ended up here, but he's here. Sigvald kills Krell, and then Throg kills Sigvald from behind. But then, like, I don't get that. Throg is super smart. He's crazy smart. So the only reason he would have to kill Sigvald, I know he hates him. Like, in the book he hates him, because Sigvald's a tool. But Throg should probably kill Sigvald, since the battle isn't going his way, and switch sides. But he doesn't. He kills Sigvald and then charges Nagash, and Nagash just picks him up with a spell and tears him apart. Okay, Throg, why'd you bother to kill Sigvald if you were going to keep fighting for the bad guys? That was weird. Cetra saves Nagash from something. I didn't write down from what. Which Nagash is very confused, and Arkan the Black is very confused. So Nagash has to get to the fight where the other Incarnates are. All the Incarnates are working their way towards Archaon, and Nagash is getting slowed down. So Cetra saves Nagash, and then decides to hold next to Arkan the Black, who are like his sworn enemies, and Arkan's confused, but Cetra goes, Archaon summoned me... Well, sorry, I have to go raspier. Archaon summoned me to fight for him. Cetra does not serve. Cetra rules. So he's like, he accepted Archaon's invitation to teleport him to the big fight just so he could fight against Archaon and show this piece of shit what's what, which is badass as hell. So nice. I like that. I like that a lot. But yeah, so Arkan and Cetra fight side by side to help Nagash get away from that immediate fight and go where he's needed. Hellebron shows up to fight Alarielle. Hellebron ends up dueling Alarielle and stabbing her and killing her, which is bad. Gelt and the dwarves move to aid Alarielle. Durthu and Vlad have an epic stand to try and save Alarielle, but like I said, Hellebron sneaked past and stabbed her anyway. Vlad duels Harry Hammerstorm, kills him. Isabella and Manfred find him. Vlad takes Isabella and jumps to his death, but he puts his bring her back to life ring on Isabella at the last second, so she'll be reincarnated because of his ring, but the Chaos Gods won't have hold over her anymore. So Vlad, like the best vampire by far, just died to save Isabella, which, again, that one tracks, but it sucks for the good guys. So, like, the good guys are just losing because they're bad at doing things. Like, if Grimgor hadn't killed all of Cathay, Cathay would still be around to help. If Teclis hadn't fucked over everybody, then honestly Chaos would have lost already. Things like that. So Alarielle is dying to Hellebron's cut, and Durthu kills himself to give Alarielle life. And that's just like happening pages. Like Vlad died to save Isabella, and then Durthu dies to save Alarielle back to back. Everybody's just dying to save everybody. Gelt takes Alarielle on the back of his Pegasus to the Ulrichsmund, where they're going to meet up with the Gash and the other Incarnates while the dwarves hold. There's a weird cameo that I honestly don't know what it's supposed to be. A one-eyed dwarf with a large axe shows up with Grombrindle and Bugman to hold with the dwarves to the very last. Is that supposed to be Gotrek or Grimnir? Because in Gotrek and Felix's final story, Gotrek went into the realm of chaos to take Grimnir's place, and Grimnir came back into the world. So is that Grimnir or Gotrek? The book doesn't seem to know or care. If it's Grimnir, it should be a bigger deal. Anyway, Karl Franz and Imrik charge together, and I put myself a note. Imrik is actually the most heroic character in these books. Imrik has been fighting the Beastmen constantly and leading the elves while all the Incarnates, Malekith, Tyrion, Teclis, and Alarielle just argued in the council. But Imrik's been fighting for days, and he is not an Incarnate. He's just a fucking guy, and it's amazing. He's been fighting on horseback, so something happened to his dragon. His dragon's dead, and he's fighting anyway, and he's kicking tons of ass. So Imrik leads a charge with Karl Franz. What? These battles... Oh, no god to help him. Yeah. He leads a charge of like Reiksguard, Kislevites Lancers, and Dragon Princes, and Imrik's a fucking badass. So, way to go, Imrik. A Bloodthirster with the name Ka-Bantha. He's been throughout this book, but he's a minor character. He battles Tyrion, Caradrian, and Karl Franz, so he fights two Incarnates and Sigmar himself. He manages to kill Caradrian. Franz gets Gal Maraz back and kills Azazel, because the Bloodthirster chucks him through a window, and he finds Gal Maraz, and Azazel talks to him for a while, and then he just bodies Azazel very quickly. That was silly. The Lore of Heavens just finds Karl Franz again, and then he kills the Bloodthirster with a shock of lightning. Which, again, what is the point of this narrative? Archaon stole the Wind of Heavens from him, and then Wind of Heavens just fucked around and eventually found him again. But, okay, did you just want Franz to be weaker? What part of the narrative did this... How did this help anything? Because if Franz... What actually changes if Franz still has the Winds of Heaven through this whole book? All the other Incarnates had their magics, and they couldn't stop the Beastmen. Heavens isn't even the strongest. Nagash is the strongest right now. So it's like, would Franz having Heavens have changed the story at all? Why did we take it away from him? Only to give it back to him without any effort. Like, he didn't do anything to earn it back. It just found him again. It literally found him. I don't know. It's stupid. There's this big old flame barrier that's keeping the 8 Incarnates away from Archaon while he tries to finish the third portal. And the Avengers unite as all 8 Incarnates come together, and they're trying to break the barrier with their magic, and Grimgor is the only one not using his magic. The other 7 are pouring like a beam of their special color of light into this flame barrier, and they can't break it. And Grimgor just runs at it with his fucking axe and just chops it like 6 or 7 times, and eventually makes a hole big enough to jump through. And I'm like, Grimgor is single-handedly saving this book from being dog shit. I mean, it still is, but he's at least hilarious. So the Incarnates charge Archaon and hundreds of demons, and they all, do some badass shittery. We're almost at the end of the book. So the Incarnates are here at last. Their armies have mostly fallen away. It's just the 8 Incarnates. Caradrian died. The Wind of Fire is out there. So I guess it's the 7 Incarnates in Teclis. And then there's kind of a funny little bit. Elsewhere in the fight, Grimgor's Crimson Killers are the only infantry units to make it through the barrier and help the Incarnates. So there's some Demonettes of Slaanesh that try and seduce the Black Orcs, and it's honestly written perfectly, where the Demonettes are like, we're so sexy and great, and the Black Orcs go, crump them, and just kill them. Like, it's not even what you might think, where it's like, ooh, the Orcs were kind of seduced for a bit, and then it turns out they were just pretending and it was all a trick. No, like, it just didn't work at all. The Demonettes were like, ooh, you wanna come over here, big boy? And they're like, kill him. They just completely ignored it and just beat these Demonettes to death. Love the Crimson Killers. Oh, they're so funny. Ulrich possessed Volker gets in there as well, and he finds Teclis, and he doesn't kill him because Teclis landed in front of Archaon. I mentioned that briefly, but I forgot to circle back to it. Archaon just took Teclis prisoner to gloat in front of him for a while. Volker finds him, the guy who's possessed by Ulrich, and Ulrich wants to kill Teclis for sealing his flame, killing Ulrich pretty much because he's dying now because his flame went out. He doomed Ulrich, doomed mankind, and doomed the world, but seeing as how Teclis is the only way to save the world currently, Ulrich lets him go and goes to fight the last of his strength. Grimgor duels Archaon in the best duel ever. He is matching Archaon blow for blow, but then he headbutts him at one point, which Archaon didn't expect, and breaks the Eye of Shirian, which helps Archaon quite a bit. It kind of tells him the future and shows him what's going to happen so he can like block in time and stuff. And Grimgor only loses this fight because Gitsnik breaks. The Slayer of Kings breaks Gitsnik in one encounter, and then Archaon just stabs Grimgor because Grimgor doesn't have a weapon. But like, it's crazy that Grimgor was actually going to beat Archaon. If they both had Slayer of Kings, Grimgor would have won. That's just hilarious. Karl Franz rides in on Deathclaw. Deathclaw dies, but Sigmar version of Karl Franz fights Archaon. Volker has to help Franz at one point, and they push Archaon into this giant pit of fire and souls. And the third Chaos Rift is starting to open. Teclis binds the winds of fire and beasts to him, because Grimgor died, so the wind of beasts was free. Caradrian died earlier against that Bloodthirster, so the winds of fire are free. So Teclis manages to grab 2 winds in himself, and his body is ripping apart, but he manages to hold on long enough to help the other Incarnates start the portal. All the Incarnates gather up, start stopping the portal, and then Mannfred shows up. I spoiled this earlier, but if you're listening to this, you probably already knew. Mannfred shows up, stabs Gelt in the back as, like, vengeance. Teclis has to try and grab the third wind, the wind of metal, but he can't handle 3, and he's literally torn apart. And then the void expands and eats Mannfred, because, like, he's too close to the void. Kinda. And then the book's unclear, because then he's all of a sudden not in the thing, and Tyrion kills him. I don't know, but Tyrion kills Mannfred at last, and he's like, my vengeance at last. And I'm like, take your vengeance back in Athelvorin, and you guys would have won. Ugh. So, the 4 Incarnates that are left can't hold the portal. The portal opens up, and they all die. Arkan, elsewhere in the battle, sees the portal opening, and he runs away. He rejoins Neferata and talks to her about the Age of Sigmar, just saying, like, there's still another hope. There's the Age of Sigmar. And then the end of the book is like, Sigmar, Franz, grabs onto a rock in space, and then a miracle occurred. And this was all stupid and pointless. So, like, if Teclis hadn't done anything, Chaos wouldn't have won. Just hadn't done anything. Because him fucking over the elves, and him fucking over Middenheim, and him fucking over everybody, it directly led to Archaon winning. If any of the Incarnates had killed Mannfred when they wanted to, instead of imprisoning him with horrendous security, they would have won. And now my dog's barking in the background. But, like, there are so many times where they could have won. And they had a god who could see the future on their side who was causing all of this, and she could have also stopped the world from ending at any point by saying, just kill Mannfred, or don't kill all the elves to resurrect Tyrion, or don't kill fucking Middenheim to resurrect Tyrion and all that stuff. Like, it wasn't even Teclis who wanted that stuff done. It was Leleith. Like, yes, Teclis also wanted his brother back, but Leleith didn't have to tell him. Leleith has no attachment to Tyrion. It's like she wanted the world to end. But then she wanted the world to end for the Age of Sigmar, but then she lost sight of the Age of Sigmar. She said, I can't sense the Haven anymore. So then if she can't sense the Haven anymore, maybe she doesn't want the world to end. Maybe tell them, kill Mannfred. Anyway, I hate it. And all this was just to let the world end so that Sigmar could grab onto a thing in space and start the Age of Sigmar. And I hate it, and I haven't read very much Age of Sigmar lore, and it sucks. And I hate the Age of Sigmar lore, and you can get mad at me if you want, but it's stupid. And the fact that, like, they bring back every character that they originally liked in Fantasy and Age of Sigmar, and they just hand wave it away by just saying, like, oh, they managed to survive. Fuck that. The world exploded into space, and I saw some of the people that make it into your precious Age of Sigmar, I saw them die. Malekith, Tyrion, they both got sucked into the portal. They died. Morathi died back at the Vortex. Way back in the Curse of Cain, Morathi was torn apart trying to keep the Vortex together. Like, then they show back up in the Age of Sigmar in various forms, and it's like, oh, it's them, but not them. No, those characters died. This is bad storytelling. Ugh. It was terrible. It was terrible. Lord of the End Times was garbage. Disgusting, awful garbage. It pained me to read it. It was by far the worst. By far the worst of the End Times. So much happened off screen. So much was terribly rushed. It just sucked. Ugh. It made the Curse of Cain look good, which it wasn't. And the Skaven didn't get to do anything. Like, the Skaven didn't get to do anything. They were there as bodies. Like, there were some Skaven slaves that got killed by various randoms, but there were no Skaven characters that mattered. Thankful died off screen. And then no other legendary lords or heroes or anybody played a part. Lizardmen were already gone. Bretonnia barely got to play a role, and they left early. Trying to think. Grand Cathay got killed off screen. Chaos Dwarves got killed off screen. So it's like, even as your last hurrah, there was a lot of people that didn't get to play a part. Ogres didn't get to play a part. Goldfag was just on screen for a second with Grimgor to wave high and then disappear. Dark Elves were only represented by Malekith. Like, there were no other Dark Elf characters and no Dark Elf regiments that did anything. I don't know. It just blew. It was terrible. It was terrible. Because, like, the whole time you're getting told by the narrator that, well, there's no hope, the world is doomed no matter what, but then you're shown several times where the world couldn't have been doomed if the main characters weren't idiots. And this takes me back to my original point, where there's two types of stories, two types of bad stories. There's incorrect stories, where there's a bunch of errors in the writing. This didn't have that. The writing made sense, point A to point B to point C. It was the second type of bad story. It was the bad story where you don't understand why it's being told. You don't understand what the purpose is, what the message is. The purpose of this was to kill off the world to make the Age of Sigmar to make money. That's the purpose of this. It's the only purpose of this. And it was very clear. In super rushed writing, terrible character assassination, and nonsensical character motivations. Everything technically made sense as long as you believe that all the characters are idiots. Just pure idiots. So, great work. Roar. Subscribe, yes.